Well, hello peeps. Well, here we have another discussion video, continuation of my last video, and I'm kind of gonna start a series with these instead of going for one big video, simply because putting all World of Warcraft problems together and like giving different solutions and stuff, and like that would take literal hours. Like I've been just doing research for hours, just looking at topics like new players and gearing, and like just some of these topics, like. Yeah, it's gonna take, if I'm gonna do like a full-on video for just one of these topics, it's gonna be like a very long video, 30 minutes or whatever. So trying to make a full video with all of these topics is just kind of out of the question at this point. So I'm just gonna make a series. We're gonna call it WoW Fixes or something like that. So today we're tackling the issue of new players in WoW, or kind of the issues that face new players and those kinds of things. I originally thought that this part would be more focused on the monetization parts and cultural significance, what was happening in the world, right? The different kind of, I guess, things that, because like, it's like World of Warcraft was the biggest game in the world, and, you know, of course, like that place got taken over by a different game, and that place again got taken over by a different game. You know what I mean? So, but upon doing more research, like the reason why we have no new players might actually be a lot more straightforward than some esoteric concepts and like social, economic, whatever concepts, right? Why we don't have new players could be just the fact that the new player experience is crap, both from the game design point and community viewpoint. First of all, let's tackle the fact that the game itself is poorly designed for players. While Blizzard has kind of tried some things, right, with like tutorial pop-ups, you know, the Exile's Reach, right? Just it does not compare to other games and kind of even WoW before it. What do I exactly mean by that is the way modern expansions work is basically everything is at endgame, right? You don't have a mid game, you don't have an early game, you have just the end game. Compare that to classic or older expansions where your early game, your mid game, and your end, you know, like it took you a long time to get to max level, right? And I feel like that's where people kind of forget, right? That currently, if you're like the worst player, let's say you're like the worst, biggest noob ever in video gaming history, it's gonna take you like, what, 30, 40 hours to reach level 60 and get to Dragonflight? And that's like if you're the worst player ever. The speedrun on Classic, I think, is 74 hours, right? So, like, just compare those two. Like, the worst timing ever, like the most longest time ever to get from 0 to 60 compared to Classic. Now, of course, in Classic, that's not, the max level is 60. Now, with today, it's like 70, right? So, it's not like a complete 100% comparison, right? But let's give the noob another 20 hours, right? It still like doesn't come close to how much it took in Classic as a speedrunner, right? Not just as a person who is, you know, doing the game for the first time ever. So I think you kind of get my point, right? Even if the game it didn't have pointers, right? Even if you didn't have even things like, you know, quest helper and stuff, you just had a lot of time to get your bearings around the world and, you know, a lot of the different things that are in the world. I've also heard people kind of like talk about like how you feel weaker as you level up. And again, that I completely attribute that to just the leveling experience today just being that fast. You don't have the time, like you have the quests, you actually have all the quests and the things in the world to get the items, right? At a certain level. It's just, you know, why would you stop yourself from leveling? Like, why would you go and block your XP to get all this gear and then, you know, proceed to level? It all has to do with like the fact that you do 3 or 4 quests and you're done with a certain level usually, right? You're just done with the level 2 quests. You go do 1 dungeon, 1 quest, bam, level. Like I'm leveling currently a new character and it's just constantly new abilities, constantly like if I wasn't like a already like established player, I would have a very hard time with balancing 20 different abilities already like at after 3 hours of playing the game. Like you have to understand, I'm like level 30 after like 2 hours of playing the game or something like that. Like sure, I started an allied race or whatever, right? But you know, like 2 hours into the game, I have like almost 15 abilities, like 15 different clicks. Like you have 2 hours into Classic, you have 4 clicks, right? So that's a huge difference, and I'll talk more about that in kind of Classic versus retail in a future video in this series. So I'm definitely today more raising the questions than giving the giving solutions. we definitely have a problem with leveling experience. It's, you know, it's also like random. There's like, you can watch videos. That's why I don't want to talk about these things specifically. I want to talk kind of more things of from my viewpoint, because like you already have some videos from both to just new players and some older players talking about it, and it's like they've already kind of hit those different topics, right? And I'm trying to hit here from a different kind of angle. But basically what I want to point out right now is that certain issues basically tie into other issues, and I'll talk more about if like I didn't discuss everything regarding new players or problems regarding new players, I will probably talk about that in the future video regarding a different topic. So we can safely say that Blizzard just has to improve the new player experience. Now, we don't have to exactly go back to just long leveling, right? But we just need more structure for the new player. I think we also need some more like length on the leveling, right? If you're just getting a level per minute early, right, and you're getting an ability every 2 minutes, it's a little bit hard to get your bearings, get yourself sorted without watching 10,000 guides and all those things, right? And also having structures, right, that after level 70 also support new players, right? Things that you can, as a older player, just opt out, right? You can say, I don't care, I don't need you to hold my hand. But a new player can be like, yes, please, Blizzard, hold my hand. Another thing is that WoW is just becoming heavily outdated at this point. Like, it's just a very old game. The core of WoW is basically the same for 20 years. From my understanding, it's I'm not like an expert on developing games and such, but from my understanding, they use an engine they created themselves from the Warcraft 3 engine, right? So if you're working here with, you know, spaghetti code, yeah, basically, right? Again, I'm not like the most tech savvy when it comes to developing games, right? But we can safely say, right, that it's not comparable to what new games are running on, right? It's also like the last visual update and like that we had was in Cataclysm. So as I've been kind of constantly screaming on my streams lately, if you've been watching, we just need another Cataclysm at this point. Like, we don't need a WoW 2, we don't even need a full reset, we just need a Cataclysm, in a sense what Cataclysm brought into the game as far as like the updates and like overhauls, class reworks and such. We pretty much have to admit to ourselves that this throws away a lot of people. Like, the art style might be very iconic to us, but from the perspective of like a new player who doesn't care about the Warcraft IP, it's probably, you know, just outdated. You can also just go and check like Unreal Engine 5 Ogrimmar, I think Unreal Engine 4 Stormwind. Some people have done like recreations of these places in the new engines, right? And I mean, yeah, just go check those and you can kind of see. I might put some picture up for you guys to see. Now on the topic of the community, I mean, peeps, do you even have to tell you like what the problem is for new players? Like I can't find the exact stream, but I joined a random dungeon let's say 2-3 months ago while I was still recovering from my injuries from having the surgery and stuff, right? So I just don't join the dungeon for fun. I think I was on my DH, fully geared, right? PvP, upgraded stuff, right? So it's like much better than any gear dropping in a heroic dungeon. I get kicked within 1.5 minutes, I think, for taking too much AoE damage, basically. I can't even remember what I did. Nothing was said to me, nothing. I remember I did, like, obviously, like, I could figure out as an experienced player, right, what the reason was, but I was like, right, this is like the amount of tolerance, like, people are gonna have, right, in a random heroic dungeon. Now imagine you're a new player facing this, right? You're a new player in just a normal, right, dungeon or something like that, right? So, you know, you can just imagine yourself being a new player. Like, the tolerance for new players in WoW is just slim to none. So how are we expecting new players, right, to want to play our game when we don't want to even play with the new players, right? The elitism and kind of the gatekeeping is just happening in the most bare minimum level, right? And it's like kind of sad, right? Like that even like people are gatekeeping normal dungeons, random normal heroic dungeons, right? People are gatekeeping or being elitistic about. Like, that is sad. The main reason why I'm like talking about this is because as a community, we usually don't have the power over the game, right? We don't have power over Blizzard doing things, right? Certain things, right? What we do have power over is how we behave and interact with people in the game. And I'm gonna, like, I will tell you, right? I'm gonna admit, I definitely have been at some point, did the same exact. Like, I've been intolerant towards newer players and stuff. So I'm not gonna say like, oh my god, shame on you, right? When I have done exactly the same in the past, probably, right? Probably even, right, maybe worse things. So, it's not like I'm trying to just like beat people over, like be nicer to newer players, things like that. It's just that I'm trying to point out that we generally have had a very infamously toxic community as far as like kind of elitism and gatekeeping is considered. But then it's just coming to a point where, right, we don't have any influx of new players, and like if we are just gonna gatekeep and you know, belittle, bully, whatever, right, any kind of new player, right, it's just an issue. Well, that's it, peeps. I know it's not all like exactly every 100% of the issues that the new players are facing, but I think these are kind of issues that I have noticed right away, and I think can be adjusted kind of easily, or are kind of glaring problems that need to be adjusted at some point. On the topic, right, of the community, and on the topic of just Blizzard updating their game, making a structured content, more structure as far as just newer players, right? You don't have to have that structure for us older players, but we need to have some structure for the newer players. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things that YouTube wants you to do, and have a nice day.